Hello, my name is Michael Holmquist, and this is my signature assignment presentation for SPF 301 in regards to how I will deal with diversity within my career and profession. This is my mission statement um, to uplift, influence, and impact the lives of my students no matter the cost. Again, my name is Michael, and for my career choice, I plan to become an outdoor wilderness educator at one of our many national parks. In the following slides, I'll present my vision statement with how an educator can be culturally aware with their teaching and what that may look like for a professional in my industry. Here on slide 3, places and spaces and material culture. Designing a classroom that is intended to reach every single one of my students will be the most important goal that I'll seek to achieve in the process of creating a nature-inspired learning environment. I want to create a place where students feel like they can express themselves without fear of being judged or frowned upon. Despite being a non-traditional educator, I will enhance my classroom with the resources and tools they will need in the field in order to be successful and learn effectively. I want my learning environment to be engaging and lively so that my students are always eager to learn and are fully aware of their surroundings. The space of where I perform my teaching will need to always be evolving and changing in order to accommodate my learners' developing minds. The materials that I want to provide for my learners are common tools and resources that they will use on a daily basis. Tools will be used to collect data, sample elements, and measure growing patterns of wilderness zones, the wildlife, and natural habitats. Electronic devices such as microscopes, tablets, and computers should be continuously be updated to their needs so that they can perform the tasks above in the most accurate way possible. Here on L4, the achievement gap and cultural bias. What this looks like in my career. The achievement gap is one of the worst problems we face in our schools and society. This gap separates us into several groups based on multiple characteristics, such as our socioeconomic um, and our gender, our ethnicity, our social class, and religion, etc. There are many reasons how the achievement gap comes to life. In educational settings, factors such as underfunding, inexperienced and underdeveloped teachers, expectations of students is non-existent, and limited resources are all viable reasons of why uh, uh, achievement gap is within our school systems. Continuing on, there are a lack of support such as health and social workers due to a poor budget. These are a few factors that play into the mess of the achievement gap. In my industry specifically, I would like to work for is already losing federal funding under our current um, governmental administration. Although there have been some great improvements and laws put in effect to preserve land, this will play a major role with how I can teach students about conservation efforts as well as being an advocate for our public lands. As an outdoor wilderness guide, I will have some influence towards local government to provide aid support on a year-to-year basis, and it will be my duty to provide and accommodate my learners with the correct material, tools, and resources so that they do not fall into the situation such as in the achievement gap. Here on slide 5, the culture as a disability and cultural conflicts. Um, I, I think often students will shy away from interacting and sharing their true colors in fear of being misunderstood, having false misconceptions, and becoming insecure about who they are. According to Cowhay, too often our reflex upon realizing our difference is to clam up to hide our difference to become invisible. Being an Being in an uncomfortable situation is never fun, but if we are truly to crush the gap that separates us from getting to know each other, we have to break down the barriers that hide us from being ourselves among others that are a complete opposite of us. As an outdoor wilderness educator, I will be dealing with a diverse group of learners. It will be important that I learn the general makeup of my audience so that my learners can be comfortable with asking questions and inquiring about topics that pertain to what is being taught. In regards to cultural conflicts, my goal as an educator is to eliminate these types of situations through questionnaires and group collaborations. Arguments and conflicts are inevitable, let's be honest. But there are several ways that I can educate my learners how to look past our differences and learn from each other. The most important thing for them to learn is not so much about material, but to learn about each other and the perceptions that others have, and therefore leading to understanding of the material. Here on slide 6 of pop culture and rituals and how that pertains to my career is when it comes to learning and attending school, the experience of school should always be energetic and fun. Creating a learning and exciting environment that is fun and exhilarating for students to grow, learn, and develop effectively should be one of the biggest goals we have as educators. Pop culture is a great source that we can use to enhance and provide outside influence for students to learn and grow about educational concepts. As educators, we must appropriately push them outside of their comfort zone and so that they can experience and possibly understand other perceptions that they may not have thought about or see. The outdoor world will definitely be portrayed differently from one culture to the next, so what we believe to be our standards of how outside world works and functions may be completely different of another culture as they view the same thing. According to Capfer, such projects vary on one society to another, and, as I will endeavor to show within specific societies from one community to another. Uh, in other words, it will be my duty to explain how the outdoor functions differently for other cultures and why that is. This brings me to rituals and how the outdoor can be viewed in complete opposite directions when it comes to different cultures. According to Philip Jackson, we can find rituals and procedures that give us clues to the culture of a school, if we are daring enough to explore such avenues within our student body. I will seek to understand how many students learn and convey material as they tackle on routines and weekly tasks. Here on the final slides are culturally responsive teaching. As an outdoor educator, I want to, for the most part, be able to create a learning environment that is engaging, exciting, secure, and safe for all my learners. By doing this, I will have to seek outlets where my students can grow, develop, and feel comfortable. Some examples include getting to know my families as best as possible, whether that's through meetings or uh, prep rallies, or just generally trying to connect with families on a weekly basis. My goal is to incorporate a way to get families to be a big part of their child's development as they attend school and be there with them as they are educated. Another great goal of mine is to be able to incorporate the makeup and diverse culture of the students within my profession as an outdoor wilderness guide. My hope is to be able to incorporate their traditions, their heritage, as well as their language and just the basics of what their cultural background is, and instill that into my teaching. Another great important aspect of culturally responsive teaching is genuinely getting to know my students, whether that is supporting them in their after school curricular activities, whether that is in sports or if they're in drama or if they're a musician, is to try and attend their events. Uh, I truly believe that as teachers, we have the power to change, not only change the life of a child through education, but to genuinely change the life of a child with a connection, a relationship, and partnership that goes beyond just the classroom, and supporting them in their, I guess, passions and hobbies. Because, again, at the end of the day, yes, we're there to teach students about life and specific um, subjects of education, but beyond that, we're there to instill in them morals and traditions and um, you know the basics of life. I want to be able to uh, teach students in a way that their differences are not a hunch that they can come up with to the classroom or to their peers and have a debate or a conversation with them so that um, they don't feel that they're in a non-safe space or they don't feel that they can't share what's on their mind. I want them to be able to learn from each other. And so my biggest goal is for culturally responsive teaching is to be able to have students thoughtfully and be be brave enough to bring up anything that they need to bring up with their peers, with their teacher, and their families, and be able to understand and get another perspective about life because, again, our differences should never separate us. We should learn from each other and learn from that gap so that we are educated, that we are able to learn and grow with each other as we move and grow into adulthood. This has been my presentation for my signature assignment about how I can introduce cultural diversity within my profession. Thank you.